Hi, Lynn Christian from Soul Salt. Today we're going to talk about overwhelm. We're going to talk a little bit about what the root of overwhelm is. We're going to discuss some ways to get through it. And we're going to talk about how it's not all bad. So let's start with that. Overwhelm is not always a negative. Think about the times when maybe you were overwhelmed with sympathy or empathy, compassion. Maybe there were times when you had a grand opening and you were overwhelmed by the support from the marketplace. That's a good thing. The type of overwhelm we're talking about today is the overwhelm that occurs when there's too much of something coming at you and it's perceived as a negative. For instance, maybe you're gardening and you notice, oh my goodness, I need to order mulch. I haven't weeded this patch yet. Oh, I need to harvest the tomatoes. What about the seedlings? So you have so many things coming at you that you feel overwhelmed, and our autonomic nervous system then puts us in a place where we have cortisols pouring through our system and we're not at our best. That's the kind of overwhelm we're going to talk about today. And that's the kind that is pretty ordinary for most of us. If you look at the root of that, though, and I had this situation with my partner lately when we were gardening, and she talked about the overwhelm. Knowing what I know about overwhelm, I just said, sweetie, are you afraid of something? And she said, yes, I am. I'm afraid we're not doing all of this right. That was her fear, a genuine fear. And that's where most overwhelm comes from, is a fear. Think about the last time you were overwhelmed. Was it because you had too many things to do? Maybe you were afraid you wouldn't be able to do them all. Maybe you were afraid you were going to miss something. So when we understand that it's fear, we then know, how do we deal with it? Well, we step away from the fear. So the first step we want to take is we want to stabilize. And I'll take you through a quick exercise. Just look at some object in the room where you are right now. Don't do this if you're driving. And just look at that object. Give it your full attention and presence. And then breathe. Notice your breath. Inhale and exhale and stare at that object and be one with it for just a moment. Then move your attention to another object and breathe with that object. Notice the color, the contour. Notice that object and breathe. In and out and in and out. Then look at a third object. Again, breathing with it, resting your eyes on it, and being one with it. And then bringing your breath and your eyes back to the original object. Notice that your autonomic nervous system has calmed down. And from this place, you have stabilized. That's step number one. When we get overwhelmed, just stabilize. You may have breathing techniques. You can use this orientation technique. Stabilize. The next step is to look at all the things and just pick one. What's the next thing you're going to do? So you look at all the things and pick one. That's step two. The third step is to go take action. Go do that one thing. And then start to notice that if you need to come back to all the things, you can pick the second thing and then the third thing. Those are the three steps that I have found really, really useful for me and my clients to deal with overwhelm. Everyday, garden variety overwhelm. Another thing that we can do is to keep in mind the Pareto Rule that came out of Italy from an economist. The Pareto Rule is the 80-20 rule. If you think about all the things that are overwhelming you, the truth is, out of 10 things that might be overwhelming you, you only need to pick two, get acting on them, and if you've picked two that seem right to you, you probably will get 80% of the benefit that those 10 options offer. In other words, by picking two, you get 80% of the value, the weight, and the benefit of all 10. That's the Pareto Rule. So when overwhelm comes in, just realize we don't have to do all the things. We just really don't. Okay, today we've talked a little bit about overwhelm. I hope that this has been useful because we all reach it. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Stress itself can be helpful to kick us in the butt and help us realize we need to do something else. Stress is not always a negative. But when it gets to overwhelm and you find that you cannot function very well, then you need to move beyond that. Kevin, Thanks for joining us this morning and the rest of you that are with us. I hope this has been useful. And there is a blog below if you want to get some more tips. You can always subscribe to our newsletter at soulsalt.com. You can go out to YouTube and subscribe to Soul Salt Coaching, all one word. And we do have some courses that can help you take control of your life and stop being overwhelmed. And below you'll see a link to the course, Take Control of Your Life. We all get overwhelmed. We don't have to stay there. Take good care.